Welcome back. You're watching Newsx. I am Rishabh Gulati. Ladies and gentlemen, we have been absorbing developments which are all indicating that we are in times of seriousness that perhaps we have not seen in a generation. I've been doing this long enough for my hair to have gone grey, and I've never seen something like this. As we speak, the Indian Ministry of Home Affairs is taking hourly updates from every Chief Minister, Chief Secretary and District Magistrate on the repatriation of Pakistani nationals on valid visas in India by the end of the various deadlines, one which expires immediately, one which expires tomorrow, and the final one for medical visas which expires on the 29th. Now, you can allude why that is. So, let's quickly examine, while we've been discussing how this is being perceived here, let us show you how it is spin doctored across the border. Let's put this on our screens and then we'll take you through some of the reactions, some of them surprisingly honest ones. Okay, so let's put this on our screens very quickly, please, so that we can have this conversation. This, ladies and gentlemen, is Delhi, Pakistan. 25 tourists killed in shooting in Indian occupied Kashmir. All right. No mention of terrorism over here. Okay. The Dawn, in the aftermath of Tuesday's militant attack in India held Kashmir. Militant attack. Certainly not terrorism there. False flag operation, says the Pakistan Observer. India media is stoking tensions. So, the Indian government just conducted an operation in which they sent some agents, according to them, to kill their own citizens, and after that the Indian media is to blame for what has happened. So, that's what went wrong for sure, 100%. This is so accurate. Pakistan Today says gunmen attack, and they are citing a police source because they obviously didn't see the visuals. Here's another one, false flag operation. I'm assuming you can all understand what they're alluding by false flag operation. False flag operation means that we did it ourselves to our own people as an excuse to blame Pakistan. Now, for the past several years, okay, if you've been watching us, we don't discuss Pakistan much. That is completely different to what it was when I began my career. Morning, evening, night, all we used to do was discuss Pakistan. There's a reason we don't discuss Pakistan much. And the reason is India's moved on. It's trying to move on. We have a GDP to build, we have an economy to build, we have people to build. Pakistan foreign exchange reserves are about $9 or $10 billion. India's are $700 billion. So, we needed to move on. But as they very famously said in a famous movie, every time you try to get out, they suck you back in. And how do they suck you back in? By making these claims. Okay, so let's open this up to as much reasonable conversation as we can have. Sumit Peer is joining us on the broadcast. Raja Faisal is joining us. He's a journalist who's operating from Pakistan. And I'll be taking more developments in coverage as they come our way during the course of this telecast. But Mr. Faisal, thank you for taking out the time. It's obviously a very difficult moment for both our nations. We are about to deal with things that we wish in our generation we didn't have to see, but they are now upon us. So, what is your assessment, sir? Is the general sentiment being reported in Pakistan that this is a false flag operation? This is what Pakistanis are being asked to believe?
When I closely watched whatever the developments were. First of all, the very first encounter I had with this situation was when I was sitting in Arnab Goswami's show, and suddenly, to my surprise, everyone started. I mean, it was what? It was just an hour before that this incident took place. Suddenly, they started, shouting about it's all about Pakistan. Pakistan is sending them. Pakistan sent them. Knowing the facts on ground, I mean, later on I figured out what the place was and how far it is from LOC. It's line of control. From line of control, it is 400 kilometers away from line of control. So, to my surprise, suddenly when we started getting Pakistan, I mean, shown on every screen, so it was a basic reaction from Pakistan side. You have shown, the bylines of the newspapers. I agree with you. There shouldn't be any bylines like false flag or these kind of statements. This incident, because there are civilians involved, it should have been considered a terrorist activity, whosoever it is. Whosoever it is. It is purely a terrorist activity, and this should have been dealt with as a terrorist activity. But when it comes to blaming a country, I think in that context, India should have taken a bit of care while uttering the names. Indian media should have done so.
Taken
I
care.
know Indian government didn't do straight away. Indian
Sir,
government
after a
did not do
point,
straight.
how much, I mean, I'm just stating facts for you, okay? And this is a fact, and I don't mean this is an insult. This is the tragedy of our times. But Pakistan is in a lot of trouble, sir. Your country is not a happy place right now. Politically, militarily, economically, it's not in the best books of everyone, let alone for yourselves. At what point of time will this denial end that Pakistan is not perceived all over the world as a bed of terrorism?
I don't think the whole world thinks this way about Pakistan. When it comes to Pakistan, Pakistan is considered as a country that has been fighting against the terrorism since more than 20 years. Fair enough. In past, of course, we were getting these kind of statements coming from
It's
people
not
like
a statement, sir. Osama bin Laden was killed by the Americans on Pakistani soil. Are you seriously thinking the Americans don't consider Pakistan a hotbed of terrorism after that also?
Pakistan is a massive country. Same like India is even bigger than Pakistan. There are places where people can hide, and people do hide. There are so many people who might be hiding within India right now. I mean, if I ask you that in the presence of 900,000 troops, in Indian military troops, if they are stationed in Indian illegally occupied Jammu and Kashmir, then where did these people come out from?
Does
Where were they hiding?
Pakistan follow a
Where were they
policy of
hiding?
state-sponsored terrorism, in your humble opinion?
I don't think so. Pakistan has never done so. If this was the case, why Pakistan is still facing terrorism? Pakistan is a country that is actually fighting against this madness, fighting against this terrorism, be it ISIS Khorasan, be it TT.
There was a British Prime Minister in an era very far away who said, we exit a period of conversation into a period of consequences. Now, you are welcome to your denial, sir, and I wish you the well for it. It's a very comfortable place to live in. But do you realize that we have now entered a period of consequences which may be very unpleasant?
I think so. Reason being, both of the countries at this hour, they need to show a sense of responsibility on both sides. I'm not saying that it's only Pakistan that needs to show. Pakistan is showing in terms that Pakistan is seeking a probe into whatever has happened in Pakistan.
According to what you are taught and told, who won the war in 1965?
Well, this is what I didn't want to hear. I didn't want to hear it from you saying me that whatever I've been told and I've been taught, nobody is there to teach me about anything.
Okay, in your own opinion, who won the war in 65?
Rishabh, I am witnessing everything, and when it comes to 1965, well, of course, we fought with a country like India. India is 5 times bigger than Pakistan. 1971, 1965, whatever the wars were, where do we stand right now?
But did Pakistan win or lose? So the surrender at Dhaka was a win or a loss?
Where are our border lines right now? who is having what chunk of Azad Jammu and Kashmir, and who's having still holding the Kashmir and
No.
Jammu
That
in
argument
its
doesn't
hand.
end, and I don't want to have that argument with you. I'm having a
Look
much
at the
simpler one.
territory.
Who do you think
Look
won in
at
1971? Do you think Pakistan
look
won
at
that
the
war?
territory. Rishabh, look at the territory, then look at the number of the troops, then look at the
Sir,
number
it's a
of
simple
the
question. Who
planes
won the
each
war in
of the army
1971?
was having. Both of the armies, they were having
Both the armies
they
won.
were having the good planes, right? Good
Both
number
the
of
armies
planes.
won.
Both of the countries, they are nuclearly powered right now. If both of the countries are still standing, to me, nobody has won. Nobody has
Nobody
won.
won.
If
Okay.
India, and I
Siddharth,
think it is
can we
more
just, for a memory refresher, Siddharth, can we just pull out the photograph of Niazi signing the surrender at Dhaka, please? Is refresh the memory.
And where does India stand in Dhaka right now? Can you show that as well?
Where does India stand in Dhaka, sir? It's an independent country,
Yeah.
sir. We have no standing
Yeah,
in Dhaka.
where does India is standing in Dhaka right now?
It's an independent country, sir.
Indian stooge, where do they stand there?
It's an independent country, sir. We are
What?
welcome
It is
for
an
you to
independent country.
redeclare it
That's
is
what I'm trying to
Pakistan.
say.
But it's your humble
That's what
opinion.
I'm trying to say.
It's your humble
We have
opinion
moved
that
on.
nobody won in 1971.
Rishabh,
Fair enough. Okay.
Rishabh, we have moved on. And whatever happened in
No, sir,
1971,
India has moved on. You
I
are
think-
in
I
a
think- I think
pathetic
you need
position.
to-
And you are in a
I think
pathetic
you need
position
to-
because you live in denial. And educated like people like you can't even accept that you lost a war.
Yeah, people like me, people like you, people like
Yes,
me, people
you are
like
educated and you
people
can't
get
even
out of it.
accept.
You have
Okay,
your own-
you can put
you
a
have
quote
your
of
own
Malcolm
views,
X
I have
behind
my
you,
own views.
but you live in denial. I don't
am
want to have
going
an argument, which is
I-
why
I-
we don't
I
host
think- I
Pakistani
think
guests.
I would-
There's no
I
point.
think
You
I
just
would
live in
recommend
denial.
you to go through the interviews of General Manik Shaw.
Why don't you read the book of Lieutenant General A.K. Niazi? Okay, he died in Lahore in 2004.
Why don't you? Why don't
Sir,
you
I am
why
very
don't
well
you
aware.
go
I am a
through
well-read
the
person,
interviews
and I know
of
exactly who
General
won in 1971. Okay, you are unfortunately unaware of the fact. But we put that's the photograph of General
I can't
A.K.
agree with
Niazi
your
signing the unconditional surrender
I can't
in
agree
Dhaka.
with your facts.
Unconditional surrender in Dhaka. That's a Pakistani Army Lieutenant General, CNC of East Pakistan, signing an unconditional surrender in Dhaka. And we are being told that this was a draw, that both armies won. Okay, no, let me get Sumit Peer into this conversation. Sumit, now of course this is the problem, and you've been sitting with me a long time. The reason for several years we have simply stopped engaging with a sensible conversation, a place where a sensible conversation cannot be had. So obviously Pakistan lost in 71. Half their largest part of their population, which was in East Pakistan, became an independent country. It's an independent country. India does not have a standing in any independent country. Dhaka doesn't call the shots here. We don't intend to call the shots there. I can tell you Pakistan doesn't call the shots there either. I can argue that Mohammad Yunus is an unelected person who did a coup. And I can tell you that didn't happen with the help of the Pakistanis, it probably happened with the help of somebody else sitting in Washington. But those are my assessments and opinions. But I can't argue with the fact that an unconditional surrender was signed in Dhaka. So here is the issue, Sumit. What we should be addressing is that, okay, something bad has taken place, all right. Nobody conscionably wants to see that taken place. Let's work together. And whatever you need. So if your house is clean, Sumit, and a murder has taken place in your house, and I'm the police, I come to you and you say, sir, you come and search the house, you take whatever witness testimony you need, you take whoever fingerprints, you can take my narco test, you can do whatever you want. However I can help you solve this murder, I will help you. Or you can say that no, the murder never happened, or indeed the police planted the body in your house to frame you. We can go down several paths. Correct. What do we do if we are going down the path because the Pakistani people are being told, no, this wasn't a terror act, this was actually a false flag operation done by Modi to blame Pakistan. For what reason, rhyme or purpose, God knows. What do we do now?
Rishabhji, thanks for having me on your show. Look, the problem with Pakistanis is a state of constant denial because, this time around they shot above this weight. Asim Munir never thought this will have a repercussion of this proportion. He never thought that he is the person under whose watchful eye Pakistan will disintegrate into four parts. Look at the Pakistani generals. Ayub Khan lost 65, then Niazi lost 71, Ziaul Haq lost Siachen, Musharraf lost Kargil, and now this Asim Munir is going to lose Pakistan and it's going to be broken into four parts. So, from the history of the military generals of Pakistan, they're always seeming losing Pakistan.
But
And
Sumit, I'm trying to identify, because a reasonable conversation would be that yes, look, we fought the wars. The Pakistani military performance in those wars hasn't been the best. Okay. Yes, we lost in 71. We surrendered the more populous half of our country, which became an independent country.
Correct.
Yes, we've been dealing with terrorism, and yes, in the past, Musharraf has admitted, Khwaja Hafiz has admitted just yesterday that yes, we've sponsored terrorism in the past. We don't want to do it anymore because it's not good for us either. So let's try to move on and work together. I mean, that would be a conversation which is worth having. But when we are being told that no, nothing like this ever happened, there is no terrorism in Pakistan, nobody in Pakistan ever sponsored terrorism, we won all our wars, we have nuclear weapons, we'll teach you a lesson, tum kaun hote ho, not understanding the economic situation in Pakistan. I mean, with forex reserves of $10 billion compared to $700 billion, there are more Muslims today in India than there are in Pakistan. How do we get past this? What do we do if there is a whole country living in denial?
The problem is the military of Pakistan, which does not let people breathe. There's a complete wing of military called ISPR, which has all these proxies which they use, all these journalists disguised as them, and all these commentators who work for them are basically on their payroll. And if they have to live in Pakistan and breathe there, they have to toe the line, because ISPR wants you to tell, look, there's not a war happened. We have not done it.
But that's not true of all Pakistanis. Some of them do speak out. Some of them are very, very attuned to reality that we are in deep trouble economically. We are becoming a pauper country. We have to go around asking for money. It's not a happy situation, and that's not who we want to be.
Rishabhji, they know it, but the problem is that the military wants you to toe that line. Military wants you to believe this. Military wants you to be in hallucination. Well, 4G, Asghari and Bharia foundations do a business of $100 billion and make a profit of $20 billion. 30% of the GDP of Pakistan is controlled by these three. Today, military makes diapers, baby powder, champi ka tel, to everything. That is what the general said. Where are all the ex-army chiefs of Pakistan? How many of them live in Pakistan?
All of them are abroad.
They ultimately leave Pakistan.
One is in Riyadh, I know, Dubai, they have houses in Dubai, London, Macau.
And I will quote General Bajwa. Didn't he say before leaving, यार तुम लड़ाई क्या लड़ोगे? तुम्हारे पास टैंक में पेट्रोल डालने के पैसे नहीं है, तुम्हारे बंदूक की गोली नहीं, खाने की रोटी नहीं. How are you going to fight these wars? Wars are expensive. And this bluff of Pakistan, we are nuclear armed and all, is a perpetual bluff which they live in.
Okay, so you can attempt. Obviously, we are going to disagree on many things. Okay,
right.
Two perspectives are going to disagree on many things. Okay, but if we, and the reason I asked the question about 71 war, because if we disagree on who won the 71 war, it's like saying, no, actually, Germany won, or it was a draw. World War II was a draw. Okay, think Germany was a small country and against it was big countries like Russia, US, UK, France. So if you balance everything, it was a draw. If you hear answers like that, then you can't have a reasonable conversation. So we can agree on nothing. And that becomes a difficult conversation to have. Okay, but that's not all Pakistanis. Okay, Sumit, I want you to listen to this. Because there are other Pakistanis on the streets who are saying all sorts of things. I want us to get a perspective. We'll just take a small snippet, 30 seconds, then I'll come back and open this conversation. 30 seconds, listen in.
तो वहाँ पर लोगों का एक रिएक्शन होता है उस हुकूमत के ख़िलाफ़, और मैं इस रिएक्शन को हुकूमत की पॉलिसीज़ के ख़िलाफ़ एक रद्द अमल समझता हूँ.
तो मेरे ख़्याल में ये इस तरह का काम वो कह रहा है कि पाकिस्तान ने करवाया है. मैं तो कहता हूँ कि ये काम इंडिया ने करवाया है, यानी पाकिस्तान को बदनाम करने के लिए.
भी दहशतगर्दी के ख़िलाफ़, टेररिज्म के ख़िलाफ़, मतलब हम भी फ़ाइट कर रहे हैं. ठीक है, हमारा भी कंट्री एक में से एक है. ठीक है, लेकिन जब भी किया जाता है अटैक उनकी तरफ से ही किया जाता है. ठीक है,
ये आसफ फौजी 2 साल से वहाँ पर अपना प्लान बना रहे. अगर वो 2 साल मतलब ये उनकी सिक्योरिटी फेलियर है कि वो इसको इन्वेस्टिगेट नहीं कर पाए.
हम तैयार हैं.
हाँ, जंग के लिए तैयार हैं.
हम तैयार हैं.
आप जंग के लिए तैयार हैं?
तैयार हैं.
क्यों जी भाईजान, जंग के लिए तैयार हैं? आप भी तैयार हैं?
इंडिया के लोगों को भी ये सोच रखनी चाहिए कि हमें बदला लेना चाहिए, लेकिन उनको बदला लेना चाहिए उन लोगों के खिलाफ, उन टेररिस्ट के खिलाफ जिन्होंने.
Okay, So you heard now, these are literally Pakistani YouTubers who go around on the streets and ask Pakistani people, what do you feel about what's happened? And you've heard a snippet of those reactions. So all reflecting, we are ready for war. The Indians are the ones who do terrorism all over the world. It's the Indians who don't know how to run their country. Okay, and let's fight. So from top to bottom, we are living in such difficultly abject denial that the conversation has become impossible to have. I realized this many years ago, because there's no point in calling a person who is a person of his conviction and then having this berating match about whether gravity goes up or gravity goes down. Or he's telling me, what is your standing in Dhaka? Well, we have no standing in Dhaka. It's an independent country. Okay, they have to decide what they want to do. Okay, it's not a colony of India, but I can tell you that it's no longer part of Pakistan. Okay, it's an independent country. It used to be part of Pakistan until December 17, 1971. So I can ask you, if you are a Pakistani passport holder, how conveniently you can travel all over the world. You will find it difficult. I can tell you that in most terror attacks that have happened in Europe, somebody has either spent time in Pakistan or is from Pakistan. Now these are unhappy things. Who wants this to happen? No one. But to say, though it never happened, that the 9/11 attackers never traveled to Pakistan. Osama bin Laden was here, but it's a big country. What do? We couldn't see him. He was hiding very well. Americans found him, and the source, the fellow who the Americans used to find him, is rotting in a Pakistani jail to this day. Okay, so let me get Joyita in. Joyita, that leaves us with a difficult question. Is there any reasonable conversation that can be had when top to bottom the conviction is, forget 3 days ago we won 1971?
No, Rishabh, there is no chance of having any conversation. I'm certain there are reasonable people even in Pakistan, but you see, when the conversation starter is supposed to be, well, it was a false flag operation by India, and it is something, and 1971 forget about 1971 as well, that happened 50 years back. So it's basically, when you are talking in terms of it is a false flag operation. Number one, it shows the kind of ignorance that is there. Number two, it shows how I would say closely monitored, and how when it comes to dissemination of information, the dissemination is coming perhaps from sources that have not, perhaps they are coming from sources that do not have any credibility. And I would say this is a classic example of education that happens in religious seminaries. You see, this is
no, but it's not education, it's brainwashing. Now, I can tell you that these YouTubers are different. You can find them all online. I recommend you watch them. I do watch them to get a different perspective. But they are telling you a gut reaction. It's an unadulterated, this doesn't go through the Pakistani establishment. So I would recommend you watch these guys. You've seen their faces. So, Joyita, but when it's, and I've told you this, you've known me for a long time. I take no great enthusiasm in just getting a Pakistani guest and then berating him and having a face off for half an hour. It achieves nothing. Okay, it intellectually, journalistically achieves nothing. It might make for very good Tamasha TV, but I don't believe in Tamasha TV. So we don't have Pakistani guests often for this primary reason, because it's impossible to have a conversation. So is it for those people who will say that, listen, you need to have a conversation. There are sensible people in Pakistan. You need to talk to them, and this will get sorted out. We don't need to escalate things. We don't have to go out. But then I tell those people, if the other person is going to say, we won 1971, we'll defeat you again. How do you have a serious, sensible, rational conversation with somebody who's clearly off their rockers?
Yeah, because you see, this is the problem. I think it's Pakistan's national character. That is the whole problem. In India, what happens is that we come from diverse backgrounds, diverse educational backgrounds, different strata of society, different languages we speak. As a result of which, you see, India is like a melting pot. A lot of conversation takes place here. It's very difficult for any particular, I would say, conspiracy theories to kind of, I would say, brainwash Indians. It's very difficult. If you go and talk about something in at any Indian drawing room, try to have a conversation, and you will find 10 people are talking 10 different things. And you try to say something again pro government, there will be 10 voices that will be against government. You want to say, so you say India is a society. I mean, India, I would say that is one common characteristic when it comes to all Indians.
I agree with you with one caveat that the British did manage to brainwash us. They did manage to convince us that we are two countries. Okay, so the British did a good job of brainwashing us. So I agree with you in part, but subsequently, post 1947, if you see the path of progress of India and you see the path of progress to Pakistan, we are in different arcs of history where we shall remain, unfortunately for the Pakistanis. Now, Sumit, I'll leave it at this thought, and this is the only reason I was having this conversation, because you know I'm not the kind of fellow who just gets in a Pakistani guest, कि उनको फिर आधा घंटा then exchange galis and great tamasha TV. I find that distasteful. But I've asked reasonable questions. What do you make of the answers I've got? Is there any room then to have a reasonable, rational, sensible conversation with anyone in Pakistan at this stage?
All the known people or the people who matter are under tight leash of ISPR, including Raja, including this Raja gentleman.
I don't know. I don't want to cast a personal aspersion. I don't know. But he just told me that 1971 was a draw.
Because he has to say that, because if he leaves your studio, if he leaves the Zoom, and there will be people who will be knocking his door after 30 minutes. Bhai, kya bola tune?
But Sumit, there's a problem, no? If I say you're wearing a pink shirt,
yeah,
okay,
I mean,
I can keep telling you you're wearing a pink kurta, pink kurta, pink kurta, and you keep saying it's a white kurta. Now, after a point, then people are going, what absurdity is this? No.
Of course it is. You know, the biggest ever military surrender in the world, rather the most humiliating one with 93,000 troops, and he says if we win the war, then we have nothing to talk. And you know, there have been instances. There's only one English channel, Rishabh ji, in Pakistan, that is PTV, right? I used to go there quite often, and this Raja is a very regular person there. Now these four people will start coming and trying to gherao you and trying to thrust a point of view, and when you start answering, swear to God, they will cut the show. They will end the show in 20 minutes because somebody will call them from the ISP or a military, show band karo. That is how Pakistan works. Raja can think whatever he thinks, but as he lives and breathes.
But why is it become so difficult? Okay, just to say that, all right, okay, we made mistakes, right? This is why isn't somebody in Pakistan really worried that, oh my God, what's happening to our country? We can't feed ourselves. We are running around asking for money from the Saudis, from the Qataris, from the Chinese, that we are in trouble, guys. We need to do something different. I know that these people do exist, but what is this?
The problem is military controlling everything. Military and ISP are controlling everything. I hate to say this, but there's a mullah who is running the military today. He is the biggest and the most dangerous mullah in entire Pakistan. He is more dangerous than Maulana Dizzle and any of them. And all the Pakistani generals, don't look at the ostrich and the bear. They have been absolute mullahs. They use Islam. They use this prophecies of Islam, and he calls himself Hafiz Sahib, Hafiz the Quran, to run the government, and that is how they do.
All right.
People become rich.
I'm going to take a break. So, can we just go through this again? So, if anybody is watching this, now you have an understanding why a reasonable conversation with Pakistan is not possible, because here you go, as far as their position is, false flag operation. Is it difficult to show this? False flag operation by India, Kashmiri gunmen, false flag operation, militant attack, shooting. That's all that's happened. And as far as the past, they won, or it was at best a draw in 1971. How do you have a conversation? So, if you ever wondered, and I'm sure many of our regular viewers would have wondered, why does Rishabh not get these Pakistani guests? I've just told you 2 reasons. India needs to move on. They've sucked us back in with this terror attack, so we'll have to deal with them now for the next few days. But we need to move on. We need to think of AI, robotics, 3D printing, space launches, not what is happening in Rawalpindi and Lahore. And the second reason is, I struggle. I know there might be, but I struggle to find people who will say, yes, we are in trouble. We wish we were like you guys. We wish we could build Hyderabad, Bengaluru, Gurugram. We wish we could build massive companies. We wish. Yes, it was truly humiliating that in a cricket tournament that was being hosted by the Pakistani cricket board, at the final of the tournament, not a single person of the Pakistani cricket board was present. Of course, it's humiliating for Pakistan, but that's the point. Think about it. Who wants to go play in PSL versus IPL? The countries are in different orbits. And that's the reason, because it's okay for sheer tamasha value that, you sit with the Pakistani and you repeat the same thing ad nauseum and he repeats the same thing as you've just witnessed. It achieves nothing. There's nothing of journalistic or intellectual ability that you're demonstrating here other than some that, I took the case of a Pakistani today. That achieves nothing. We have to get past this, and I think the gravitas of what is about to happen has not struck them yet. These headlines we're going to have to change when stuff starts hitting the fan and is about to hit the fan. Thank you, Sumit and Joyita. We take a break. Back in a minute.